Hello there, fellow cultists. This is DM Now, and I am coming to you with another edition of Sotdl Talk, my semi-weekly video blogger thing where we get together as pals and talk about our favorite game, Shadow the Demon Lord. So this week, what I want to do is just talk about the virtual tabletop that I'm using currently, Foundry, and how to do combat in it. Now, I've had a couple of videos recently, I've had a couple of videos in my last few videos where I have talked about some of the features of Foundry because I was pretty excited about the new program, but I really didn't know what I was talking about. Now I've actually used Foundry in a few of my sessions, and I feel a lot more confident about showing you some of the features. So that's what I'm going to do here today. And I want to keep this video fairly short, so I do want to preface it by saying that a lot of the features that I'm going to be showing here do not come with Foundry's basic program. When you first purchase Foundry, you download it into your computer, and that's the basic program. And then it has its own features, but you can add on to those features and customize Foundry by adding modules. And that's one of the great things about Foundry is that you can customize it, which is not something you can do in some applications or very easily, I should say, in some applications like Roll20. Roll20 is customizable, but you have to be able to use APIs, know how to do that, know how to do macros. It's a little bit more difficult and not as user-friendly as the module system is in Foundry. All right, so when I use a feature that comes from a module, I'm going to call it out, but I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail because I want to try to keep this video short. If you have questions about the modules, feel free to put it in the comments section. I'll try to answer it offline. All right, so we have a combat scenario here. We have two player characters. Their companions have left camp for whatever reason to go take a dump or whatever out in the woods, forage for firewood, whatever. We have a couple of hostiles that come into the camp. So I'm going to assume that the player characters hear the hostiles, and they are going to peek their heads out the window or out the flap of their tent to see what is coming. So I tell them to move the edge of the tent, and both of them do so. And in doing so, they hit one of these icons that I'm showing right here. Now, these weird little hooded icons are actually part of a module called Trigger Happy, and you can set up a trigger for something to happen. As you can see, what happened here was that this came up. This dialog box came up in the chat sidebar, and it says, "The creature you see before you is frightening to behold. You struggle to retain your composure as fear washes over you. Make a will challenge roll." Now, I wrote that, and I set it to be the trigger for when their token steps on one of these triggering icons that I have up on the screen. Now, the players can't see these. It's invisible to them. So they don't know when they're about to step on one. When they do, this pops up. So it's really handy, as really handy tool for the GM, especially if you're like me and you forget frightening creatures require a will challenge roll as soon as the player characters see them. So I tell them both, give me a will challenge roll. They both curse at me, but they comply. So the first character uses a will challenge roll, and this up here is called the token action HUD. This is part of a module called the Token Action HUD that provides shortcuts to the player character's character sheet. Otherwise, they'd have to pull up their character sheet and they'd have to do everything from their character sheet, and that's not as user-friendly. So the Token Action HUD allows them to do their will challenge roll, which I have Brom Ironstone doing. He fails, so he is now frightened because that is the result of failing this will challenge roll. So I tell him to put the frightened affliction on. So he does that by right-clicking on his token, clicking on the affliction or the assigned status effects, and he finds which one is frightening. It's not that one. That's it, frightened. So he clicks on that, and now he is frightened. If he tries to make an action or a challenge roll, he will be at a bane automatically because that token or that icon is on his token. Now let's see how Argonos does. We have Argonos do the same thing. Will challenge roll. And he also rolls poorly, so he too is frightened. So we put the frightened token onto him. All right, so we have a couple of undead creatures coming into camp. What are you going to do? Well, we're going to attack them. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get a combat tracker up, and we can start the combat. So I pop out the combat tracker, put it over here to the side, and I ask them to add themselves to the combat tracker. They do that by clicking on their token, right-clicking on their token, I should say, and clicking on this toggle combat state. Once they both do that, then they can set whether they're going fast or slow. So I ask them, do that. They tell me, Argonos says he's going fast, Brahm says he's going slow. Alrighty, so I put up these creatures, which are animated corpses, put them up on the turn order, and we are ready to begin the combat. Now, as soon as I click on begin combat, that puts everybody in order and we're ready to rock and roll. Okay, so bringing up the highlight to the player who wants to go first, I ask who's going first. Well, Argonos, you're going fast, so you have to go first. All right, Argonos says he's going to cast a spell. All right, well, he goes up to his token action HUD, and he can see, well, you blew all your spells during the day, so what are you going to do? All right, I'm going to, instead, I'm going to wait for one of these ugly creatures to come up to my tent, and I'm going to whack him with with my staff. And that's called prepared action, Argonos. So click on the prepared icon, and that will get you the boon for being prepared. So he does that. You can see now he has two icons, one for frightened and one for prepared. And so that will provide a bane for being frightened and a boon for being prepared. Those will offset. So it should just be a normal roll for him if the creature does trigger that attack. All right, so Argonos went on his fast turn. And you can see the tokens are over here as well, or the icons are over here as well. Brahm, what are you doing? He says, I'm moving out of my tent and I'm attacking with my battle axe. And I say, okay, well, remember, you are a dwarf and therefore your movement is only, I believe, 5. Let's see here. What is your movement? Your speed is 8. So can you get to them? Well, there's a couple of different ways to tell. You can count out the squares if you want to, or you can use the measurement tool from the sidebar here. Now, sidebar gives you some options. We're not going to go into all of these right now, but the main options you need for a combat are with the first one that's highlighted in the basic controls and the secondary menu that pops up on the side here. So here's the measurement tool. By clicking on that, he can see that he is able to reach he's able to reach that animated corpse. And you can see the squares, if you were to count out the squares manually, which squares he would have to count out in order to get to that 8-yard total, which is pretty cool. So once he's done with that, you have to hit the select token icon over here on the sidebar again. And then Brahm can then move his token to his ultimate where he's going to land. And so by doing that, he moves all the way there. And now, since he's going slow, he can do his action. What's your action going to be, Brahm? I'm going to attack him with my battle axe. Okay, so he goes up to the token action HUD. He clicks on weapon, clicks on his battle axe, and I say, hold it. Have you targeted your opponent? He says, darn it, I forget every time. And I said, I know it. So that's why I reminded you. Please target your opponent. So what am I talking about? Well, in order for this attack to go off smoothly with some automation, there is a targeting feature in Foundry. And that targeting feature allows you to target an opponent, and then that means that the system knows what that opponent's defense is and tells the player whether he hit or miss without revealing what that defense is. So let me demonstrate. So in order to target this animated corpse, first of all, his token needs to be selected. And then he needs to target the animated corpse. Now, there's a couple different ways to target it. I use a module called Easy Target that allows me just to hover my mouse over the target and hit the T on my keyboard. And that puts this targeting symbol around the target. Now, the basic way of doing it that comes with Foundry is a little bit more complicated and cumbersome, which is why I don't like it. And so I highly recommend downloading the Easy Target module so that you can just hover your mouse pointer over your target, click the letter T for target, and that provides the targeter. And actually, it might be T for target. Let me go over to my modules real quick and see. Yeah, T is for target. That is the module that does that. There are other modules as well that help with targeting. So I do have an easy target and a couple other things that help improve targeting. But T for target is the one that allows you to hover your mouse pointer over and click on T to target something. All right. So Brahm, now you can do your attack. Since you properly targeted the animated corpse, let him have it. So Brahm rolls his attack with his battle axe from the token action HUD. And we can see that Brahm, get back to the chat log here. Brahm succeeded, and he knows that because there is a green border around the attack. If it had been a red border around the attack, then he would have missed. He knows he would have missed because it's a red border, indicating a failure. He doesn't see the defense number over here. I can see it because I'm the GM and I see everything. But he just knows, he sees this blank. He sees a blank box over here. He sees 16, strength 16 versus defense blank. Okay, so if we want to know what all went into this, we just read what's over here. So we know that Brahm did the attack. He's a dwarf warrior. He used a battle axe. He's attacking the animated corpse. Here's his attack roll, 14, plus 2 for his strength. And then these are some things that could go into the attack. Okay, so now, first of all, we would say, well, wait a minute. He had a Bane. There's no Bane in here. Why doesn't he have a Bane on his attack? Well, that's because he automatically has a boon for his warrior weapon training. So any of his attacks that utilize strength comes with a boon. So he already has a boon by default. The Bane would be added as a result of his frightened affliction. So they offset. So he has no boon or Bane, and it's a normal attack. So that is why we don't see a boon or a Bane in there. All right, so it is time to do his attack. Now, his attack roll was not 20 plus, so he does not get this extra forceful strike feature. I tell him to roll his attack. All right, so to do that, the player rolls the attack damage by clicking on this gray bar down here. He clicks on that, like so. The damage is rolled, and then this box comes up. Now, the player can only roll the damage. He cannot apply the damage to the monster. The DM has to do that. So I, the DM, would apply this damage to the animated corpse. In order for me to do that, I have to select the monster that he just attacked, which is the one that was targeted here, and apply that damage. So I have to get rid of all of this that is currently showing by clicking this clear button over here. And then I can select the corpse that I'm applying the damage to and apply the appropriate damage. And that was a solid hit. It more than injures him. So I could, if I wanted to, put an injured status on him, if there is one. Impaired, poison. I thought there was one. Maybe there's not. But anyway, I might have to request one of those to be added because that would be kind of cool. Yeah, no injured. All right, so I know he's injured. There's really no in-game effect for being injured at this low level. There might be in later levels, but for now, he's just injured, which means he's taken damage that is more than half of his health. All right, so that was Brahm Ironstone's turn. It is now the corpse's turn. So we move the highlight over to the corpse, and now he will do his attack. He's going to attack with his fist, so he gets to target Brahm, and he gets to make his attack. All right, so that is a failed attack. Pretty poor roll on the part of the animated corpse, and so he misses. Brahm, you are lucky man this round. And so Brahm laughs it up, but the other animated corpse also sees Brahm, and he's going to come over here, and he's going to attack him. So this corpse will also target Brahm and hit him with his fist. And he rolls a natural 20. All right, so for a natural 20, I have to roll the damage, just like the characters do, and then I have to apply the damage to the appropriate token, or to the proper token. So to do that, I have to clear everything. I have to select the person being damaged, which is Brahm, and then I apply the damage to him. So Brahm, he gets a little bit of damage over here as well. All right, so you can also see the damage being tracked in this hit point box. Now, this is this doesn't normally show in the combat tracker. This is a module that I added that adds this hit point box here. This is actually, since it says hit points or HP, that is a module that was created for Dungeons and Dragons. It works for Shadow of the Demon Lord, but it says HP when it's actually tracking damage. So you just have to know that and know that this doesn't stand for health points. This is actually tracking how much damage is being accumulated by the character or by the NPC. But at any rate, that you can see over here as well. All right, so that is the end of round one. There's no end of round activity. The prepared action from Argonos is wasted. So we remove the prepared icon from both him and from, Brahm didn't have one. Or actually he did, but the token went away. So we now go to round the second. And in round the second, I ask them to tell me, are they going fast or slow? Argonos will say he is going fast, and Brahm will say he is going fast as well. The animated corpses will go fast because they are in Brahm Ironstone's grill. All right, so Brahm will go first because he is under attack. And so we can reorder this if we want to, or we can just move the highlight down to whoever is acting. I prefer to actually move these guys around so that I know who's going first or what the actual order is. But, to each his own. All right, so I have Brahm going first now. I select Brahm, the Brahm's player selects him, and he's going to attack this corpse that he'd already damaged again. So I say, okay, select or target, be sure to target him. He does so, and he makes his battle axe attack once again. And as you can see, he rolls poorly, but he still manages to hit because the defense of the animated corpse is not great. All right, so I say you hit, roll your damage. So Brahm rolls his damage. And I now have to, as a GM, I have to apply the damage to the target. All right, so I clear everything. I select the token that is to be damaged, and I apply the damage to the token. You can see now that token is maxed out on damage. His damage now equals his health. Therefore, it is no longer an active combatant. It is destroyed. To denote that, I click on this Mark Defeated icon here, and I get rid of him from the combat tracker because I don't want to get myself confused. That leaves one more token, or one more opponent, and that is the animated corpse that is directly below Brahm Ironstone. But it's Argonos' turn, and Argonos is lamenting the fact that he cast all of his good spells, and so he looks to see what else he can do. Let's click on his character sheet and see what he's got in his inventory. Does he have anything worth spending time on? No, afraid not. He does have an incantation for minor healing, but it's not really something that's going to help him out here because he's not damaged. So, does he have a ranged weapon attack? Well, he's got a dagger, but he has to be within 5 feet in order to throw his dagger, or 5 yards in order. That short range is 5 yards. He has to be within 5 yards or 5 squares to be able to attack. So he says, "Can I go slow?" And I say, "Sure, you can change your mind. I'm cool with that." And so he does. He changes his mind and he decides to go slow. All right, which means that we now go to the last fast attack, which is the animated corpse. The animated corpse is undamaged, and he is going to attack Brahm Ironstone by targeting him first. Then he rolls his fist attack, and he strikes Brahm Ironstone solidly. So I have to now roll the damage for Brahm Ironstone, and I have to select his token so that I can apply the damage to Brahm Ironstone. Brahm is now getting pretty hurt, but he is still not injured. So Brahm is yelling for Argonos to get his lazy ass over here. So Argonos, whose turn it is now, decides he's going to move over there and throw his dagger. So Argonos has a speed of 10. He will use the range ruler to see how far he can get. And he decides that this is a good spot for him to throw his dagger from. So he is going to move to this spot right here. He is going to target, and he is going to throw a dagger. And you can see that Argonos is not used to throwing daggers, so that attack misses horribly. We now move on to round the third. And round the third is more the same. Do we want to move fast or slow? Brahm says fast for me. Animated Corpse decides he's going fast. And Argonos says he is also going fast. No, he's going slow because he's going to take a chance and go up and hit him if Brahm can't kill him. I say, okay, cool. Let's go ahead and get started. Brahm, you're going first. So Brahm selects or targets the animated corpse, makes another attack roll with his battle axe, rolls terribly. So that means he fails to hit the animated corpse. The animated corpse takes advantage of Brahm's failure and makes his own attack roll. And he succeeds, and he does more damage to Brahm Ironstone, who is now accumulating this damage faster than he would like to admit. So Brahm's token is selected. I now apply the damage to that token, and you can see Brahm is now injured. So Brahm is yelling for Argonos to get his ass out over here. Argonos complies. It is his turn, and he moves up towards the animated corpse, targets the animated corpse. Then he smacks him with his staff. And he rolls a natural 20. That is a solid hit. So with that, he gets to roll his damage. And then I get to apply the damage to the selected token. And you can see the animated corpse is now injured. So we move on to round the fourth. And nobody, let's see. Argonos is the only one that's going to change his turn to fast, but Brahm says he wants to go first. So I move Argonos down here and move the highlight up to Brahm. Brahm is going to target and attack. Rolls poorly again. Brahm is off his game tonight. And so Argonos is going to have to try to save the day. He targets the animated corpse, tries to smack him with his staff again. And he fails poorly. Again, he has a Bane for being frightened, remember? So that is what brought his roll of 13 down to a 7. Now it's the animated corpse's turn, and he now takes an interest in Argonos. And so I'll change his facing here just because facing doesn't matter in the game, but I just like them to be facing the thing they're attacking. Just a personal preference. He will target Argonos, and he will make a fist attack against the magician. and he strikes the magician solidly with his rotting fist. He doesn't damage him very much, but a little bit more than Argonos is comfortable with. So I apply the damage to Argonos. He gets a little bit of damage on his tracker, and we start round the 5th. And these guys are like, man, these guys are tough. And I'm like, no, you're just rolling for shit. So do you want to change anything in the combat order? They say, nope, we are good as we are. So Brahm says he's going first this time. I move Argonos back down to second, and we begin all over again. Brahm is targeting the animated corpse and does his battle axe attack. And this time he manages to hit him. And he rolls his damage. I apply the damage. And you can see that the animated corpse's health-o-meter is maxed out, or damage-o-meter is maxed out, meaning that his damage now equals his health. So he is also out of this combat. And we just end the combat at this point because all combatants, all of the opponents, I should say, are now destroyed. All right. So that, my friends, is how you do a combat. That was kind of a boring one because my magician had already used all of his spells, but at least it kind of gives you through a basic melee combat and gets you an idea of how to utilize the tools that are available to you in Foundry. I hope you found this useful. I will do some more videos as I learn more about Foundry and how to do all the cool little things that you can do. But like I said earlier, I'm still learning. So at this point, this is just an update to my earlier videos with a little bit more knowledge on my part on how to do combat. So hopefully that helps. If you got questions, throw them my way. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and end the video. Thanks for watching. I appreciate any likes. That helps to increase the likelihood of anybody searching for any helpful videos for Shadow the Demon Lord to find me. If you can do that for me, I'd appreciate it. So with that, I am going to go ahead and close this out. Hail to the Demon Lord, and I will catch you on our next video.